5 weeks in, I've done this at home and I've done this in a remote mining camp setting, working 12-hour night shifts. I've been consistent with the protocol the entire time. And I'm sitting here genuinely asking myself, is any of this actually doing anything? That's what this video is. Not a win, not a highlight reel, the honest question that nobody running a peptide experiment wants to ask out loud. Are peptides a scam? I want to go back to week 1 for a second because context matters here. In my last update, I reported some early observations that genuinely surprised me. Sleep was noticeably better, appetite was suppressed, and I was having to force myself to eat, which for me is completely out of character. Recovery between training sessions felt faster, and most importantly, the chronic knee pain I've had every single day since my ACL surgery back in 2019 felt quieter. I rated it between a 1 and a 2 out of 10 versus my baseline of 2 to 4. I was careful in that video not to draw conclusions, as I said it was too early. I said it could be a placebo, and I said I was just documenting what I observed. I'm glad I was careful because 5 weeks later, the picture is more complicated. I do need to be upfront about something before I walk through the data. For 2 weeks of this cycle, I was working 12-hour shifts of night shift, physical labor, completely inverted sleep schedule. Night shift is one of the most physiologically disruptive things you can do to your body. It affects sleep quality, energy, recovery, appetite, and inflammation. Basically, every single metric I've been tracking for this experiment. So when I tell you that my energy was still decreased at camp, the recovery felt slower, that sleep felt no different, I genuinely cannot tell you how much of this is BPC-157 and how much of that is working nights in a remote setting. That's not a cop-out, that's just honest science. Co-founding variables are real. I'm not going to pretend that they don't exist. The insulin fridge, by the way, worked perfectly. It held its temperature at 38 degrees Fahrenheit the entire rotation, so protocol was consistent every second day, 500 micrograms, no missed doses. Here's where every metric stands as of right now. Working nights makes this impossible to assess meaningfully. My circadian rhythm was completely disrupted for 2 weeks. I'm back on days now, and sleep feels normal. But I can't attribute that to BPC-157 or just returning to a normal schedule. This data point is compromised for this rotation. Energy still decreased. This has been consistent since week 1 and it hasn't resolved. 5 weeks in and I'm still feeling a subtle flatness during the day. I don't have an explanation for this. Some sources suggest initial fatigue as the body increases healing activity. Others suggest it's unrelated. I'm monitoring it. Appetite, still suppressed. This is actually the most consistent and notable observation across the entire cycle. I am still having to consciously remind myself to eat. For someone who has never had to think about appetite, this is the data point that feels most real to me. It hasn't faded. It hasn't been affected by the night shift variable the way the other metrics have. Recovery at camp felt slower, sore, and tired on waking up consistently. But again, night shift, 12 hours of physical labor, I cannot cleanly separate those variables from BPC-157's effect on recovery. Back in Phoenix this week, I'll have cleaner data on this. Knee pain. This is the one I've been thinking about the most. Week 1, I reported it sitting at a 1 to 2 out of 10, down from my baseline of 2 to 4. That felt real at the time. Right now, I think something subtle is happening. My general bone cracking I normally get is less frequent. The general joint discomfort feels slightly quieter than baseline, but it's not the dramatic improvement I was half expecting going into this. And I think that's a little bit on me. I spent weeks researching this compound before I touched it, and something in that research between the Reddit posts, the biohacking influencers, and the clips you see online, I absorbed a level of expectation that probably wasn't realistic. BPC-157 is not a miracle compound. The human clinical data is extremely limited. What I'm feeling, less cracking, slightly quieter joints, might be exactly what a realistic outcome looks like. Not dramatic, not overnight, just subtle and gradual. The problem is when you've been sold a miracle and you get subtle. It's easy to call it a scam, and I don't think that's fair to the data. So where does my knee pain actually sit right now? Probably at 1.5 to 2.5, marginally better than baseline, not life-changing, but not nothing either. One thing worth mentioning, I had a rash for a period of time at camp. It wasn't at the injection site. It appeared elsewhere on the body and went away on its own. Could be work-related, could be unrelated entirely. I'm flagging it because this is a diary and everything gets documented. I don't believe it's connected to BPC-157, but I am mentioning it. So are peptides a scam? Let me answer the question I asked at the start. Based on my data, I can't say yes and I can't say no. And I think that honest answer is more valuable than either extreme. Here's what I actually think is happening. The appetite suppression is real and consistent. That's not placebo. Placebo effects don't typically persist for 5 weeks on a specific measurable behavior like eating. The knee improvement is subtle. Less cracking, marginally quieter joint pain, not the miracle the internet sold me, but not nothing either. The energy decrease is real and unexplained. I don't like it and I'm watching it. And I think the bigger issue isn't whether BPC-157 works, it's that social media hype around peptides has created expectations that no compound could realistically meet in 5 weeks. When you've been told this is a miracle and you get subtle and gradual, it feels like a scam even when it might not be. That gap between expectation and reality is what I think is driving a lot of the polarized opinions you see online. People either swear by it or call it completely fake. The truth is probably somewhere much less exciting and in the middle. What I don't have yet is the most important data point, post-cycle blood work. Same panel as my baseline in video 2, that comparison is where the real objective signal lives. I'm getting that done before my next rotation at approximately the 6-week mark. That video will have actual objective data, not just self-reported observations. If you came to this video expecting me to tell you BPC-157 is some type of miracle, I am not going to do that. If you came expecting me to tell you it's a scam, I'm not going to do that either. What I can tell you is I'm 5 weeks in, I've been consistent, and the data is genuinely mixed. The subtle improvements are real, the expectations were probably too high to begin with, and the final verdict awaits the blood work. Next video, I'm going to be doing my post-cycle blood work results. I just got my kit in the mail today. The before and after comparison, the actual objective data. That's the video this whole series has been building towards. No sponsors, no agenda, just the diary.